Sininsky. She's a longtime resident of Lakewood, but she's here to talk to us today about her personal account of the Holocaust, the concentration camps, and her amazing story of survival. So please help me welcome her today. Thank you so much.
First, I want to say thank you very much for having me here today. And I'm honored that you want to hear about the story because it's very important that we know what happened and we cannot ever let this happen again. So you are the ones that will carry on the torch. And my story is that I was born in Czechoslovakia, and we had a wonderful life. We were a beautiful family. I had 4 brothers and a sister, my parents, my grandparents. We were all there. And from nowhere, one day, they just came in. What happened is that during a certain period, our president, Masaryk, he died. So he gave the country to his nephew. His nephew could not hold on to the country, so we became Hungary. Czechoslovakia was taken over, and we were Hungarians. Because when we went to the concentration camp, we actually went as Hungarians. As I said, I had 4 brothers, and my mom and my dad. My dad traveled a lot, so he would see a lot. That was his business, that he would see a lot of things that were happening throughout the world. But we didn't believe. We always believed that everybody is good and everybody's going to do the right thing. Unfortunately, that was not what happened. In 1940, the Czechoslovakian, as we became Hungary, they took over and they came in one day into our homes on a Friday morning, and they took us out of our homes with very little belongings, just whatever we could just carry, and put us into, believe it or not, a school. And that was our beginning we were held there. And it was on a Friday. And of course, the next day, and that Friday night, and of course the next day was the Sabbath. And they took out all the Jews from their homes, and this is where they put them in. And what happened then, we stayed there overnight, and the next day, they put us into a cattle train, and we went to a place called, it was Hungary, but it was part of Czechoslovakia and part Hungary, and they took us to a ghetto. And at the ghetto, we were there for about 3 months, and it was called Beregsas. We were the men went to work, but we were living in a very, very deplorable conditions. It was horrible. But that was okay, because we were a family. We were together, and that's all that meant a lot. What we needed was that we always be together. People were talking, things were happening, but we didn't believe that the atrocities were actually going on, but people were talking about. Unfortunately, we did end up knowing, and we were living it. So after the 3 months that we were there as a family, the men went to work, and the women were there with the children, and we did the best we can with these deplorable situations with the kids. One day, they take us out from the ghetto, and they put us back into the cattle trains. And we started to travel. Nobody knew where we were going. Everybody we were like about 95 people in one cattle train. We had 1 barrel of water. That is all they gave us. And that's when we were on the Germans already. That was the Germans came in and they took over. Nobody told us where we are gonna be going, but we traveled, and we traveled for a while, and everybody was crying and asking each other there. We were like 95 people in one cattle train. I don't have to tell you what that was. It was horrible. It was not for human consumption, but they didn't care, because as far as they were concerned, the Germans, we were not human beings, we were like nothing. So what happened was that as we were traveling, the only thing is that I will never forget, is that my dad, I had 4 brothers, I was the oldest, I was 14, and the youngest one was not quite a year. And my dad, there were the little windows with bars, and my dad was holding the baby in his arms, and he kept on saying to him, how about if I throw you out here? Of course, the baby didn't know what he was talking. He meant really talking to himself. If I throw you out through the window from here, you'd be better off than where you're going. So everybody started to scream and carry on and asking Jacob, Jacob, where are we going? Where are we going? You know, you traveled and your business in so many places. My father said, we're going to a very bad place. That is all I can tell you. Well, eventually, we arrived to the place called Auschwitz. I have the book here that you guys could look at it later on. And when we did get there, they took the men off the trains. As a matter of fact, my grandfather was a rabbi, and he had a beard. The way they took him off the train, they ripped the beard right out of him, and that is how they went to kill him. But they still did it that way. They took the men on one side. I mean, I'm giving you my story. This is what I went through. And the men went on one side, and then it was called, here, you'll be able to see, it was called the selection. The selection meant that they were taking people to one side that was the SS. They took the stick and they would go like, go here, go there, go there. And I'm walking with my 4 brothers and my sister, and they took the stick and told me to go, and I'm not going. So my brother called my name, and he says, you have to go. I said, no, I'm not going. I'm going with my mommy. I'm not going to leave you. No, I'm not going to go. And when the SS came again and hit me in the hand to go to the side, he says, they're going to beat you up. Go, go, go. So I let go of their hands, and I went to the other side. Today, talking to you, beautiful young people, I'm talking that's something that actually my brother saved me by making me go to the other side. Because what happened that my mom, the baby who was not even a year, my sister and my brothers, they went right to the gas chamber. They were killed immediately. And there was a point that what I could remember that we just waited for them to tell us where to go. Well, they did. They told us to go to the showers. And it's very hard for me to talk to young people sometimes when I have to talk about things like that, because I sometimes don't believe that it actually happened. We went into the showers, and the SS were so bad, they just laughed and made all kinds of remarks. And they gave us that striped uniforms. Those were our uniforms to wear. And I had a cousin that was there too, so I wasn't alone. And with that, after we were all got together, the striped uniform, they marched us to the barracks. And the camp that we ended up, the place that we were there, where we were, was called Auschwitz. It was one of the worst camps that there was. And with that, a couple of days, to go to the bathroom, we could not go, like if I said, I need to go. When four other people can go, that's when you will go, because they had to supervise you. That was the Gestapos. They had to go with you. They would not let you go alone. So a few days, this is what we stayed in the camp. We had told where to go, what we're going to do, and what's going to happen. So one day, while we're out there by the bathrooms, there were a few of us there, and I started to cry. I said, I want to see my mommy. I want to go to see my mommy. I was 14 years old. I wanted my mommy. So one of the Gestapos said, you want to see your mommy? No problem. Why don't you look up in the sky and see the smoke? That's where they all are. I didn't understand what that meant. I mean, what do you mean get in the sky? They're burning, because they went right to the gas chamber. So we started to find out that we were not in a very good place. You know, things were pretty bad. I mean, just picture yourselves trying to remember to be there without a family, without anybody there to talk to, and you're hungry. You're so hungry. You have no coat. You have no shoes. And then the winters were horrible, because whenever we had to walk out for the Gestapos and the Hitler and the Germans, and they had to count you every day. So for about 4 hours, you had to stand there, because they wanted to make sure that nobody escaped, because they didn't escape. If anybody tried to escape, they shot them right then and there. Even if somebody came to, we were so hungry, and that they would have the garbage cans with, but they were very much into beets, and they had the peel, or a potato peel. And if anybody went to steal a potato peel or a beet peel, they shot them right there, because you couldn't even steal something like that. And we were there. Then they ended up making different. People went to where the crematorium was. They worked there. Some of us had to. Then some of us worked in factories. You know, the revolver, the ring that is in the revolver. That's what we were. We worked for the company Krupp. You could see Krupp, coffee makers, all kinds of different appliances, that company. And that's the company that we worked for. I mean, we didn't work for money or anything, we just worked because this is where the Gestapos wanted us, Hitler wanted us to work. And we were there for quite a while. We went to work there, and they would give us this slice of bread. We were really very, very hungry all the time. So they would give us one slice of bread, and the food was like, it looked like some grass with some warm water. So what would we do? We would take that slice of bread, and sometimes if we weren't very hungry, we would put it under the mattress, and then we would go to the factory to work. So when we would come back, we went to the mattress to go because we were really very hungry. They gave us really nothing. Somebody took it because they were hungrier than we were. And this is what was happening. We didn't stop doing it because we thought we were saving it for when we would be very hungry. We were there for approximately almost, not quite a year. In the mornings, as he said, we would have to get up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. The snows, the winters there were brutal because they're known for very bad snows. And a lot of people would be shot. If they would steal anything, they would be taken. There was a lot of experiments going on. Thank God the people that I was with, the little people that we got to know each other, we were not touched. We just went to work and whatever needed to be done was done. But it was not a very good place. It was really, really very bad. Most of the times, there was always talk that somebody's going to come and liberate us and they're going to save us. It wasn't happening. I don't know how long before we ended up being taken from Auschwitz, from that camp, and they took us to another camp called, also a subsidiary of Dachau, which was called Allah. And that's where we ended up for a while. And we didn't work, so we knew that things were not going to be good, that they were just going to kill us all, and that's it. I mean, they weren't going to save us. And we were there for quite a few months. Again, with the hunger was horrible. Everybody was always very hungry. The winters, as you said before, was brutal. But the nicest thing and the most wonderful thing was that, like you're sitting here today, you're together. You were able to be like a unity. You had people to help you, to support you. You could turn to him and say, listen, I need a glass of water, and he would bring it to you. But we didn't have that. Nobody there we couldn't even be a unity. Nobody could help each other. Because if we did help each other, we weren't sure when they would take us out and shoot us. Well, there was a time, going on, I could, there's a lot of things that unfortunately age and other things in my life that have happened. I can't give you all the details that happened there. And when I'm looking at your beautiful faces, and so innocent, it hurts me to tell you that what people could do to other people, and they only did this for one reason, because we were Jewish. And that is why we ended up in that concentration camp. Now, listen, you're smart kids. If I ask you, was that fair? No. My brother, the baby, not even a year old, could he have sinned? Could he have done anything bad to anybody? Why do you want to kill him? Why would you want to die? Why did you want to kill us all? Well, this is what they were going to do away with all of us. And again, we ended up getting into a cattle train from the place called Allah. And they were going to take us to another camp, and I would imagine that the other camp was the end of our lives. So we were very, 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 very fortunate. We were very lucky. Some people looked out as we were traveling, and we were like 90 people in the cattle train. There was a lot of people. And everybody would start talking to each other and say, I think we're back to where we started from. what's happening? We're not going anywhere. And the not going anywhere turned out to be a good thing, because that's when we were on the way. The Americans were on one side coming to liberate us, and the Russians were on another side. They were being pushed back and forth constantly, but we knew that something was not right. And the next thing we know, that the SS apparently knew what was happening, the ones that were with the trains. And all of a sudden we look out through that little window in the cattle train, and we see that they're waving their white flags that they're giving up. So for me, fortunately for me, I was liberated by the Americans, and the Germans, to the places where the liberations took place, the people from those homes had fled. They fled the homes, and so when we were liberated, they put us into those homes, and they gave us some food. Unfortunately, because our stomachs were not used to any kind of a food, anything really of that was, was really food, was because we didn't have a meal, like we would say, a meal. So a lot of people got sick, but we did get liberated. And it was, of course, of course, any soldier at that time, if we saw them, it was really here. At that point, I was like 15 and a half years old, and they would go and say to people, why is she running away from us? We're Americans, we liberated her. So that whoever they could talk to, they said, well, they're afraid of any soldier. So it has nothing to do with you being just as a soldier, but because they were afraid. But we stayed there for a while, and then we started out to different, we were going to go home, because we still didn't believe that our families were slaughtered. That even though we knew that when my mom and my 4 brothers and sister went right to the gas chambers after they took me away from them, and I wasn't sure, and I knew the cousins and aunts and uncles, they all went to the parish, but I just didn't believe that actually that everybody was killed. I couldn't. I mean, how could I be saved and nobody else? It didn't make any sense. So what happened was that I found out as we got to meet different people from different countries, from different towns, they would know that if somebody was alive. And they told me that my father was alive and he was in a hospital. So of course, and they said, you go home because you will find your dad. So as far as I was concerned, I was the luckiest person in the world that I was going to find my father. Unfortunately, he died the day after liberation in a hospital. So I never did get to see him. But I did. There was organizations, there were certain American organizations, Hungarian organizations, Jewish organizations, and the countries that we would get to on our travels to back home, they gave us some money so we would have some of the money to keep going. And I set out to go home, to my town. Okay, so here I am, I'm going to my town, and but there's nobody going to be there. But you still have to go back. You want to go to your home. I get to my home, and I find out that the Russian soldiers took over my whole house, and they were there. They were not very nice, not nice at all. I was told that I had some pictures that from my family, and that I should go up in the attic, because we did find some of the survivors, and we found each other. And I went upstairs to the attic to get the pictures from the family. Not only did they lock the door for me not to get out of there, and some people came, they said, you can't do that, you gotta let her out. When I came down from the stairs from the attic, they took away the pictures. So I never had the pictures, so going up there, so that even something like that, and this was the Russian soldiers already taking over to whatever the Germans didn't finish us off, they were gonna finish us off. And I stayed there for a couple of days, and I did find an uncle that was alive, because I found a cousin that she was alive. And we went to live with him. And I stayed there for a while, and it was good to have a family. And with that, I heard that uncle of mine, my mom's brother, he was not in the concentration camp because he was taken to the Russian army, and a cousin, and they were looking for me because they heard that I survived the concentration camp, and that I was looking for some family. So we kind of like found each other. I mean, we knew that we were alive, and I set out I got some money from this uncle, and I said, I'm going to go and find my mom's brother and see. I need a family. I need more of a family. So I started out to look for him. It never ended how much we learn about people, the good people and the bad people. I went to, I was given an address that I would find some of them and the place was called Warensdorf. Warensdorf was like part of Czechoslovakia, and it was not far from Germany, and so the address that they gave me, and here I am, how old am I? 16 and a half years. I have very little money, but enough to get me to, not to buy any food or anything, but enough to get me on the train. So I get to the house, to this place where I'm supposed to find my uncle and some cousins who survived. And the woman says, sorry, they're not living here anymore. They're gone. I says, do you know where they went? She says, no, I don't know where they went. They were, I guess they were from Austrian people. And it became night. So it's dark. I have really no money. To go back to where I came from, I would have to take a train. So I said to this woman, I said, it's getting very dark, and I really am afraid to go to look for the train to get back to where I came from. Can I sleep for the night on the steps here in your house? So she says, yeah, you can stay here and sleep on the stairs in the house here. I said, I kept on saying, speaking to God, and I kept on saying, you know, God, if you ever wanted to make a miracle, this is the time to do something. Maybe you could bring somebody back to this house to find me and give me a place where I could go on with my life. Well, believe it or not, God answered my prayers, because I don't remember the time, but it was getting very, very dark. In walked a cousin. And when he saw me on the steps, he gave out a cry. And he just wanted to make sure that it was me. And I said yes. He had gotten married, and they were living in that town. But he forgot something in the apartment. And he still had the key. So he came to get the things from that apartment and found me there. And with that, took me to his home. But my uncle wasn't there. I was waiting for my uncle. And I had the opportunity to go to Israel, to England, to any place I wanted to go. I didn't want to go any other place but to America. That was my dream. I was going to get to go to America, no matter how. And sure enough, there were cousins who lived, of course, they lived here in America, they were in the United States, and they did say that they will bring out to the United States the youngest survivors of the family. And I happen to have been the youngest survivor from the family. And that's how I came to America. But I want you, these beautiful faces that I am looking at, that you can never, never give up. First, you have to always be very much aware of your surroundings, always know where you are, but always remember who you are. I feel like I probably, after coming to America, I am the richest person in the world. I came to a lovely place, my cousin, they had a lovely home. They had 2 daughters that I was able to, that's why they said they would take on the youngest survivor. And I found a family, and I found beautiful, wonderful people. You can never, never give up on yourself. I am so fortunate that I, as a survivor of the Holocaust, as a kid who never thought that she was ever going to come out of here alive, I was fortunate enough to work for the United States government. Can you imagine that? Being in the concentration camp and never knowing from one day to the next what your destiny was going to be, if you were going to live. I worked for the county, and I worked for Lakewood Township in the inspection department. And I was there for 25 years. And I have met the most beautiful people as I've met today, all of you. And I really am the most fortunate, and I was fortunate enough to marry somebody from Lakewood. Unfortunately, I lost my husband to cancer, and I lost my son to cancer. And I'm sure that some of your parents or your families knew my son, who was very involved in the township of Lakewood. And I couldn't have asked for a better way of life after surviving, after losing everyone, to have met and to have achieved all the things. And it goes to show you that you can never, never give up. You have to fight for what you believe. You have to. And you have to always keep your head up high for all the good things that you have accomplished. Because there is nothing like it than when you can achieve and you have dreams, and that you can achieve to be liberated from yourself, because you have done things for yourself. And you can make your families very proud of you, to make sure that you go on with your lives in the best way. If anybody has questions, please do. No, not you guys.
I actually just had a question. I know that most people coming out of, who went into Auschwitz, were tattooed on the arms with numbers.
When we got to Auschwitz, there was one transport that they did give a tattoo, and the other transport they didn't. And it was a little bit of a problem, because not having the tattoo, when you started to travel to your hometown and trying to find whoever I could in my life, they had doubts when they would have to give me the money to go on to food, or to go back home. That because I didn't have a number, but I had enough people there to vouch for me. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. But I want you to make me a promise here today, that when you leave here today, that you're going to be look in the mirror and be very proud of yourself and achieve the things that you know you can, and you can be proud of yourself and make your families proud of you. I know I have one question. Anybody?
Here's a question.
Please.
You said when you got to the concentration camp, you had one cousin with you. Whatever happened to her?
No, I had some of the cousins, but we didn't, she's, believe it or not, yes, I was in the concentration camp with her. She wasn't always very nice to me, but yes, she is in Brooklyn, she lives in Brooklyn, and she also lost her husband, but she has a son and 2 daughters and grandchildren. Yes, thank you for asking. Yes, dear.
Why do you think you were pushed aside, and
Pardon me?
why do you think you were picked to go to the other side and not the other family members?
Why I deserved? Yeah, it's a good question. I think that when you believe in God, and they did too, I think that He just had plans for me to be able to meet you today. So it's, yeah, sometimes I really do wonder. But I had my heartaches since I'm here in the United States, losing my husband and losing my son. Probably some of us, he said, some of your families knew my son. He was township attorney, he was a judge, and he had his private practice. He was a very special young man that everybody that he ever met wondered the world of him. So, and he went to Lakewood High School. My daughter went to Lakewood High School, my grandchildren, and I am very proud being in Lakewood and be part of Lakewood. I think that it's a heck of a good town. You think it's funny?
Oh,
No, but it is a good town. Just too many cars on the road. And I hope you all are not driving, are you? Any question? Come on, guys. I'm going to start asking myself.
Any additional thoughts while you were on the boat to America?
I was so seasick, I just wanted to get there. Yeah, it was scary. But when I did come here, I have to say that I went to, it was in Brooklyn, and I went to James Madison High School, and I couldn't have asked for better people in that school, besides the teachers, the students. Everybody wanted to help me. And I was very fortunate because I did go to, then I went to, at night, to Brooklyn College, and there was wonderful people who were graduates of college. They made it their business, I shouldn't go by myself at night. And I became a hairdresser. I borrowed $100 from my cousins, and thought I was very independent. And I went to Welfare Academy in New York, so I became a hairdresser because I didn't want to take anything from anyone if I could. And I even moved out from their home into a room with family. So I really did accomplish, and I guess there was a reason. And I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful family. My daughter lives in Lakewood, and my granddaughter works in Lakewood. And my grandson right now is going to be graduating from Rutgers in Hackensack Law School. So you're going to have a good lawyer.
I have a question. I know before the war, those who had the ability to escape Europe,
Yes.
Still weren't allowed to come into certain countries because of the quotas, and I believe they closed the borders. So those who were able to afford a ticket on a boat ride still couldn't make it entry
Yes.
into the countries.
Actually, you're right. And my father did come to my mom just about 6 weeks because a cousin told me not long ago, he lives in Farmingdale, it was about 6 weeks that my dad came to my mom, and he said, I have tickets to go to America. We're going to go to America, because there was a rumble going on already in the world. It was bad all over. And because he traveled so much, and for his business, he knew something was not right. And he says, we're going to go to America. And my mom, I'll never forget it as long as I live, she looked at my dad and she says, I'm not crossing the ocean with 6 children. I'm not going. And a few weeks later, we didn't have to worry anymore because we were taken out of our homes. It's when I speak about being taken out of my home and where we were put, I hope that none of you ever experience that when people take away your dignity, people take away who you are. That is one of the most, to strip you from your dignity, but that you're like nothing. And that's what you guys will never let happen. You will never let it happen that our dignities were going to be taken away and people will be able to do whatever they want. No, that's not going to happen again. We're never going to let it happen again, another concentration camp. Because it's not only the Jews that were in the concentration camp. It was all kinds of people. They were there. We can't. And you beautiful children that I'm looking at today, you're the ones that could make it happen, that it doesn't happen. Anybody else?
Helena, I'm curious, have you ever gone back?
Yes. Because my husband, Gary, was from Lakewood, my daughter said to me, Mom, we all know Dad, we all know all his family, and what a small world, the geography. This very, very lovely gentleman, I just found out that he knew my husband's cousin. I mean, it's like unbelievable. From Brooklyn, from New York, unbelievable. And so Gwen really had a problem. She says, Mom, I want to know something about your family. I want to know. I want to go to your hometown. It was very difficult for me to go home to my hometown. And truthfully, I really wasn't sure if I remembered exactly where my home was. I mean, I was a kid and at the time, but I thought that I did fine. So one day we got all together, the families, and we said, okay, we're going. So we did. We went to my hometown, and there was lovely people there. To be very honest, to this day, I'm not sure if that was my house. I thought it was, but we did. We went to Czechoslovakia, well, it was Czechoslovakia, and then, of course, Hungary. And we went to Poland. And then my grandchildren said to me, Mom, we cannot go home without going to see the camp, that in the concentration camp that you were in. I know it's hard for you to go and for you to see it, but we need for that to come in. I said, okay, we're here, and we did, and I was able to show them even my bunk that I was in, my barrack, and it was rough. I think my grandson took it the worst. And that night when we all got back to the hotel, they all said, Mama, we need for you to come in. And I said, oh my God, trouble. I said, okay, what is the problem? I know you had a lot of misgivings about taking us and going with us, and I know how much painful it was for for you to go home. First of all, it was not Czechoslovakia anymore, or Hungary, it was Ukraine. And all the things that you had to do to get there. But look at us, we are better people today than we were yesterday. So as I walked out from that room, I said, okay, I have kids that have good feelings, and they know the value of a family or for a human being. And I was happy that they felt that they achieved something. So it was okay to go. But it was very hard for me to go there. It was really very hard because I said, why would I want to go there? What my people did nothing for me. And actually we found out, unfortunately, that there was only one Jew in my whole town. That's the only one that came back and stayed there. There were no Jewish people in my town anymore. There was no more Czech people there anymore, not Hungarian people anymore. It was very, very different. But the people that were there, that I think it was my home, they were very gracious. They offered us to have something to drink, to something to eat if we wanted, but we didn't. And they really were wonderful. And so it was good. My grandchildren will never forget that. It just meant a lot to them. Any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
When you went back to your hometown, was it like still destroyed from the war?
It was bad. It was not nice anymore. It was just, there was like a silence that everybody was almost like afraid to talk to anyone. It was just so different anymore. Our hometown was so beautiful. We had, the nicest thing that I could remember, and I wish it was all over the world that way, we didn't look at anybody one way or another. We were one. We were one people. We had our beautiful neighbors every Sunday on their way to church. They wanted for my mom to see all the baking that they did, that they're going to have the priest to say a prayer over them. We were one. When I came to Lakewood, we were all one. We all reached out to each other. Nobody ever said, oh, this one is this one is that. We reached out to each other. I didn't have anybody here to teach me. It was my Christian friends that I met through my husband's to the business, because they did some work there. They taught me how to cook. They have taught me how to iron. I didn't know any of this. I had nobody to teach me. So it was never a time in my life. So when I got married, I needed to learn. I had an aunt in Brooklyn, but I wasn't going to go to her to teach me everything. And that's what I loved about Lakewood. And I will never want to forget that is what my town is all about. And it's, for all of you here, you have to hold on to it and make it even better. Okay? Promise?
Why did you decide to come to Lakewood after you were in Brooklyn?
The what?
Why did you decide to come to Lakewood?
How I decided.
Why did you decide to come to Lakewood?
What happened was that when I came to Freehold to take care of my uncle, who lost the farm, and he had multiple sclerosis, and he had nobody to take care of him, I met my husband, and Harry was from Lakewood, and that's how I ended up in Lakewood. Even though the first time that I met him, and the second time when I said hello to him, he didn't know who I was. So I guess, guys, I didn't make a very good impression. Yes?
Did you ever reunite with anybody that was in the camp with you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, there is a very nice gentleman, Nathan, his aunt, and I just forgot his last name. His aunt and I were we were neighbors, and we were in the concentration camp. And then before I came here to America, we were put into it was called the misplaced place. We were waiting there for wherever we were going to go, whatever our destiny was going to be. We got together.
Please pardon this interruption for the afternoon announcement. As you all know, this week is Spirit Week. Tomorrow's theme is Mix Match Shoe Day. Again, Mix and Match Shoe Day is tomorrow. Also, the junior class will have their Olympic Day practice after school today in the cafeteria. And the sophomores, Olympic Day players, will have their practice after school in the commons. Again, juniors in the cafeteria and sophomore in the commons. Also, there will be a GSA meeting. The GSA meeting will meet after school in B114. Students 16...